The Young and the Restless Spoilers Audra's Reckoning, a mother-daughter revelation. Audra's fists clenched as she paced the room, her emotions spiraling between disbelief and fury. Her world, carefully built on truths she thought she understood, now teetered on the brink of collapse. Across from her stood Cole, his face solemn as he tried to steady the whirlwind unfolding before him. "Jordan is my mother?" Audra's voice was sharp, laced with incredulity and rage. "No. No, this is impossible. I'd rather have no mother than a monster like her." Cole sighed, his calm demeanor contrasting Audra's storm. "Audra, I understand this is hard to hear, but you don't understand anything." Audra snapped, her voice rising. "Do you have any idea what she's done? Jordan isn't a mother, she's a predator. A destroyer. She's ruined lives, manipulated people, and now you're telling me she's my family?" Her voice cracked as tears threatened to spill, but her defiance held firm. Cole's proposal. Cole stepped closer, his voice soft but insistent. "Audra, I know how you feel about Jordan, and I don't blame you. She's made terrible choices. But don't you think you owe it to yourself to know the truth? To know for sure?" Audra's glare faltered for a moment. The logical part of her mind whispered that Cole was right. This revelation had flipped her world upside down, and whether she liked it or not, she needed answers. But the thought of being biologically tied to someone like Jordan felt unbearable. "And what if it is true?" Audra muttered bitterly. "What then? Am I supposed to just forgive her? Pretend she's some lost soul who deserves a second chance?" Cole's gaze didn't waver. "No one's asking you to forgive her right now. But don't you think you deserve to know the full story? Jordan's choices weren't random, Audra. They came from somewhere, maybe from a pain she couldn't handle, from losing you." Audra froze, her chest tightening at the words. She didn't want to feel sympathy for Jordan, but the idea that her existence might have been the catalyst for the older woman's descent into darkness gnawed at her. The DNA test. A few days later, Cole arranged for Jordan and Audra to meet at a neutral location, a sterile room in a clinic where the DNA test would take place. Audra had agreed, albeit begrudgingly, her arms crossed and her expression icy as she waited. Across from her, Jordan sat silently, her hands fidgeting in her lap. She didn't dare look at Audra, though her eyes brimmed with tears. When the nurse entered to take their samples, Audra spoke for the first time. Her words were cold, cutting like shards of glass. "This doesn't mean anything. Even if the test says you're my mother, you're nothing to me." Jordan flinched, her hands balling into fists. But instead of lashing out, she nodded, her voice quiet and trembling. "I deserve that." Audra rolled her eyes, muttering under her breath, "You deserve a lot worse." Jordan's painful confession. While waiting for the results, Cole encouraged the two women to talk. Audra resisted at first, refusing to engage with someone she considered irredeemable. But Jordan, emboldened by the weight of her guilt, began to speak. "I know what you think of me," Jordan said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "And you're not wrong. I've done things, horrible things, that I can't undo. But do you know why, Audra? Do you know why I became the person you hate?" Audra's jaw tightened, but she didn't interrupt. "Because I lost you," Jordan continued, tears spilling freely now. "I was young and scared, and I made mistakes. When you were taken from me, something inside me broke. I didn't know how to cope, how to live with the emptiness. So I turned my pain outward, onto the world. Onto people who didn't deserve it." Audra's lips parted, but no words came out. For the first time, she saw Jordan not as a monster, but as a broken woman grappling with a past she couldn't change. Cole chimed in, his voice gentle. "Audra, no one's saying Jordan's actions were justified. But understanding where someone comes from can change how we see them. Jordan's not asking for forgiveness, she's asking for a chance to try." The results in Audra's choice. When the DNA results confirmed the truth, Jordan was indeed Audra's biological mother, Audra felt a wave of emotions crash over her. Anger, sadness, confusion, and a strange sense of closure all fought for dominance in her heart. "I don't know what to do with this," Audra admitted to Cole later that evening. How do you rebuild something you never had to begin with? You take it one step at a time, Cole replied. You don't have to love her, Audra. But maybe you can try to understand her. Give her a chance to prove she can be better. An unlikely alliance despite her initial resistance, Audra found herself softening toward Jordan, if only slightly. She agreed to work with her, not as a mother and daughter, but as allies in dismantling the threat Ian Ward posed. The shared mission gave them a sense of purpose, a way to navigate their fragile relationship without the burden of expectations. Jordan, for her part, was determined to earn Audra's trust, no matter how long it took. She knew the road to redemption would be long and arduous, but she was willing to walk it. For Audra, for herself, for the chance to leave her monstrous past behind. The unanswered question as their alliance grew, so did the question lingering in Audra's mind, was Jordan truly sincere? Could someone who had caused so much harm really change? Or was this another manipulation, a way for Jordan to absolve herself without truly taking responsibility? Audra didn't have the answers, and perhaps she never would. But for now, she chose to focus on the present, on dismantling Ian Ward's power and finding her own sense of peace in the chaos. Because in Genoa City, trust was never given freely, and redemption was a prize that had to be fought for every single day. In Genoa City, lineage and legacy mean everything. Being tied to figures like Victor Newman or Jack Abbott, men of power, wealth, and influence, is considered an honor, even a destiny. But Jordan? For someone like Audra, the idea of being connected to a woman with a history of deceit and destruction was unthinkable. Audra stared at Cole, her expression a mixture of disbelief and thinly veiled anger. You want me to meet her? To acknowledge that someone like Jordan could be my mother? Her voice dripped with disdain. Victor Newman, now that is someone you'd want as a parent. Or Jack Abbott. They're icons, legends. But Jordan? She's a mistake. Cole frowned but remained composed. Audra, this isn't about comparing her to anyone else. It's about the truth. Don't you think you deserve to know for sure? Audra crossed her arms, her jaw tightening. If the test says she's not my mother, great. Problem solved. But if it's true, she trailed off, her eyes narrowing. I still won't acknowledge her. 30 years, Cole. 30 years, and she never showed her face. Why should I care about her now? Cole's motivation. Cole sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. He had anticipated Audra's resistance but hadn't expected her anger to burn so fiercely. Audra, listen, he said carefully. This isn't just about you. Jordan has done terrible things, things that have hurt so many people. But I believe she can change. And I think you might be the only one who can help her see that. Audra scoffed, shaking her head. So now I'm supposed to be her redemption arc? You think dragging me into her life will magically make her stop being a monster? She's not beyond saving, Cole said earnestly. Maybe she's been this way because she lost you. Maybe if you talk to her, if you show her that there's still something worth fighting for, she'll find her way back. Audra stared at him, her expression hard. You think I'm her miracle cure? That my existence will suddenly make her good? That's naive, Cole. It's not about curing her, Cole countered. It's about giving her a chance. And maybe giving yourself a chance to understand where you came from. The meeting reluctantly, Audra agreed to meet Jordan. Not because she wanted to, but because she needed answers. The clinic room was sterile and cold, mirroring the distance between the two women as they sat across from each other. Jordan's hands trembled in her lap, her eyes darting nervously between Audra and the floor. You don't look like a monster, Audra said bluntly, breaking the silence. Her tone was laced with sarcasm, but her words carried a deeper bitterness. But I guess appearances can be deceiving. Jordan flinched but didn't rise to the bait. Instead, she took a deep breath, her voice trembling as she spoke. I don't expect you to forgive me, Audra. I don't even expect you to like me. But I needed to see you. To know if there's still a part of me that's good. Audra raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. Good. You've built a career out of hurting people, haven't you? Manipulating them? And now you want me to pat you on the back and tell you it's all okay? No, Jordan whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I want to try to be better. For you. For myself. Losing you broke something in me, Audra. I've spent years lashing out at the world because of that pain. But if there's even the slightest chance that I can fix us, I have to try. Audra leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed. Us, she echoed. There is no us, Jordan. There never was. You don't get to rewrite history and pretend we're some tragic story of lost love. You made your choices, and I'm not responsible for fixing you. A DNA test and its implications. As the nurse entered to take their samples for a DNA test, Audra watched Jordan closely. The older woman seemed genuinely remorseful, her eyes red and swollen from crying. But Audra wasn't moved. To her, this meeting was a formality, a way to confirm what she already suspected. If this test proves you're my mother, Audra said coldly, don't think it changes anything. I don't need you. I've done fine without you for 30 years, and I'll keep doing fine without you. Jordan nodded, her shoulders slumping. I understand, she murmured. But I hope one day you'll let me prove that I can be better. Cole's hidden agenda. Cole observed the interaction quietly, his mind racing. He hadn't told Audra the full truth about his motivations. While he genuinely believed Jordan could change, his primary goal was to stop her destructive behavior. Jordan's vendetta against the world had gone unchecked for too long, and Cole saw Audra as the only person capable of breaking through her armor. But as he watched Audra's anger and Jordan's desperation collide, he began to doubt whether his plan would work. Could Jordan truly change? Or was this just another manipulation, another way to escape accountability for her actions? The verdict, when the DNA results confirmed that Jordan was indeed Audra's biological mother, the tension in the room thickened. Jordan wept silently, clutching the paper as if it were both a blessing and a curse. Audra, meanwhile, felt a strange emptiness settle over her. She had prepared herself for this possibility, but the confirmation still stung. Great, Audra said flatly, standing up. So it's true. You're my mother. Doesn't mean I have to acknowledge you. Goodbye, Jordan. Before Jordan could respond, Cole stepped in. Audra, wait. Don't walk away from this. You've been given a chance to understand your past, to face it head-on. Don't let anger rob you of that opportunity. Audra hesitated, her eyes narrowing. You think I should forgive her? After everything she's done? I think forgiveness is a process, Cole said gently. And I think that process starts with understanding. Jordan's done terrible things, but maybe, just maybe, she can find her way back. And maybe you can, too. The road to redemption. Audra didn't forgive Jordan that day. In fact, she left the clinic more conflicted than ever. But Cole's words lingered in her mind. Could Jordan really change? Was it possible that the mother she had hated from afar could become someone worth knowing? Jordan, meanwhile, resolved to prove herself. She knew she couldn't erase the past, but she hoped to build a future where Audra might see her as more than a monster. For now, though, the road ahead was steep and forgiveness remained a distant dream. Whether Jordan could truly redeem herself or whether Audra would ever accept her remained uncertain. But in the unpredictable world of Genoa City, one thing was clear: the journey was far from over.